Yes. There he is.
Hey, hey. Is the sound working okay?
Perfect.
Great.
Yeah. So I'm going to leave the stage and leave it to you.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, hello everybody. In this presentation, you will learn about Semantic MediaWiki 4.0. You'll also learn what happened since the last release, how you can get help and interact with the community, and the various ways that you can contribute to the project. I am Jeroen de Douw, and I've been maintainer of the Semantic MediaWiki project now for over the last 10 years. I run Professional Wiki, which is a MediaWiki hosting and consulting company. We'll start by having a look at what the numbers are. At the moment, we are getting just over 100 daily installations via Composer. And this includes both installs and updates. And so this doesn't mean we have 100 new semantic wikis being created every day, since it includes these updates, and it also includes commands that are coming from testing systems. Still, there is a nice uptrend that we can see here, and we've just surpassed the 200,000 total installations via Composer. So now we'll have a look at what happened in numbers again since the last stable Semantic MediaWiki release, that was 3.2.3. We had over 275 commits by 33 amazing contributors, changing a grand total of over 1,000 files. And that's just for Semantic MediaWiki itself. That doesn't include changes to all the various extensions and tools that are part of the Semantic MediaWiki ecosystem. We've also got the new logo, and a big thank you there to Alistair for creating the logo and to Bernard for kicking off the process. So what's the deal with Semantic MediaWiki 4.0? This release is mainly focused on providing MediaWiki compatibility. That's really the main thing that it brings. And that includes support for MediaWiki 1.36 and MediaWiki 1.37. We've also started work on support for MediaWiki 1.38, which itself is not released yet. And then on the other side of the compatibility spectrum, we have that MediaWiki 1.35 will be required as a minimum for Semantic MediaWiki 4.0. Here I should again mention briefly the release policy change that we made, since it comes in effect with Semantic MediaWiki 4. And we very appropriately follow semantic versioning, meaning that the version numbers consist out of 3 meaningful parts: major, minor, and patch. With patch releases can only contain fixes, minor releases can contain fixes and features, and major releases can include everything, including breaking changes. So the thing we changed and codified with the new release policy is what we consider to be breaking changes. So obviously, removing a feature is a breaking change, and making a breaking change to a feature itself, like some syntax of wiki text, is also a breaking change. And what we've newly included in this is requiring a new version of MediaWiki. So for instance, with Semantic MediaWiki 4, we're now requiring MediaWiki 1.35. So that's part of why this is a major release and why we're switching to 4.0 rather than to 3.3. And the same goes for requiring the running of update.php or some other maintenance scripts like the rebuild data scripts. The consequence of this is that it now will be very easy to update to new patch releases or to new minor releases. So if Semantic MediaWiki 4.1 comes out, or 4.2, or 4.2.5, you will be able to just do a Composer update without needing to worry that you need a new version of MediaWiki, or that you need to run update.php. And the idea here then is also that we will be able to make these releases more frequently, since it will be a lot easier to deal with them. Semantic MediaWiki 4 also comes with a number of other changes. For instance, there have been improvements to Elasticsearch. This includes some random fixes and some improvements compatibility-wise with very recent versions of Elastic. There are no big new flashy features in this release. You will get a full list of the things that changed, of course, in the release notes once the release happens. And since it hasn't happened yet, there is still time for you to contribute. To upgrade to Semantic MediaWiki 4, you will first of all need to have MediaWiki 1.35 or later, and you will need PHP 7.4. At least the PHP requirement here is what we have at the moment. We might still reduce this to 7.3, especially if we get requests from people. For this particular release, there will actually be no need to run update.php, but you will need to now call wfload extension in your local settings file, like you need to do with many other extensions already. There is no fixed date yet for the 4.0 release. Here, we do want to not wait too long, so it's going to happen in the next weeks, say before the end of January. The reason for this being that at the moment, there is no good Semantic MediaWiki release for MediaWiki 1.36 and 1.37. And over the last months, we've been recommending people to just run the development version, since it works better than the latest stable Semantic MediaWiki release for these versions of MediaWiki, which is obviously not a good place to be at. Hence, we want to have the next release soon. At the same time, we also want to be really sure that it does work properly with MediaWiki 1.37. And while we've had a number of people already run it on this version without any big problems, the automated tests do not yet work with this version. So that's the thing that we're mainly focusing on at the moment. And that's an area where your contributions are definitely also welcome, either to help with migrating the tests or to test the development version of Semantic MediaWiki with MediaWiki 1.37 to make sure it functions properly on your environment. So now let's have a look at how you can contribute and how you can get help from the community or otherwise interact with it. We have a relatively new Semantic MediaWiki chat. A lot of people don't know about it yet. And you can join this either via the web, so have a browser tab open on this chat, or you can join via a mobile client. And we have this chat both on Element and on Telegram. And these are both linked together. So you only need to join one of them to get all the chat messages. Then, of course, there is the mailing list, which will be linked later, and it's linked from our homepage. And there is the Semantic MediaWiki issue tracker, which we will have a look at in a second. There is many different ways that you can contribute, and there is something here for everybody disregarding of your skill set. So here we have our GitHub page, and on the top left here, you have the issue tracker and the list of code changes that people submitted. So obviously, if you're a developer, this is the place to be. Here you will submit your code changes. But that's not the only thing you can do. It's also very helpful if you look at code changes submitted by other people to review them, either from a code quality perspective or a correctness perspective. And you can do this even if you're not a technical person, if you don't know programming. You can look at the changes that people are making, or rather the descriptions of those changes, and see if these make sense from a user level. And there you might, for instance, have suggestions on how to do things better. Perhaps somebody's adding a new parameter and you think the name of this parameter is confusing and you have a better suggestion for it. So on the issue tracker, you can submit both bugs that you run into. That's very nice to do. And you can also request new features. And again, here, you can participate in what other people are posting. So if somebody is requesting a new feature, then you can join the discussion on, does this make sense for your use case? Maybe it causes problems for your use case, or you see a better way of doing things. So it's very valuable to get an idea of how many people are interested in a certain thing. So even just giving a thumbs up there can be quite nice. And then if you want to keep up to date with everything that's happening here, so the new feature requests, bugs, and new code changes that people are submitting, you can use the watch functionality at the top right. So some additional things that you can do, especially as somebody that's not a developer, is you can provide support on the mailing list or on the chats that we mentioned earlier. And you can do things like providing translations via translatewiki.net. So to round up here, of course, you should subscribe to our YouTube channel. This is where we will post the videos of the conference after the conference is done. So also hit the subscribe or the notification bell. And follow us on Twitter if you're not already, at Semantic MW. This is where we post announcements of new features, new releases, conferences, and everything else that's related to Semantic MediaWiki. Then to close the presentation, I would like to give a big thank you to everybody that contributed to the project. What we have here on the right-hand side are the people that made code changes to the main Semantic MediaWiki Git repository. So of course, the thank you extends also to people that provided support on the chat or on the mailing list, people that improved the documentation. And then finally, I would like to thank the conference organizers and then you for your attention. If there are any questions, then please post them in the chat. And if not right now, then you can still reach out to me via one of the public chat rooms, or feel free to send me a direct message.
Jeroen, I have one question. Are there any plans to move to GitLab?
I personally have no plans to move to GitLab, and I don't see the big appeal of this. This would be more work, and it would not immediately provide value to the users of the software.
All right. I think a big thank you is in place for you, Jeroen, and your great work. And I think it's very good to make it very clear how people can contribute. So thank you for that. Aren't updates in the interface, right? Just technical updates. Oh, there's one question coming.
Yes, that's correct. There are no updates to the user interfaces provided by Semantic MediaWiki. And there are also no breaking changes on the user level. So the wiki text syntax all stays what it was before.
Thanks very much, Jeroen. Clear presentation and a clear message. Thumbs up. Okay,
right.
Bernard.
Enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you.